हेलो एंड वेलकम टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ द पॉडकास्ट। अब इंडिया में जो है वो काफी कुछ बदल रहा है। और अगर मैं स्पेशली हमारे ड्रिंकिंग कल्चर के बारे में बात करूं, चीजें आर वेरी डिफरेंट। व्हाई? डोमेस्टिक चॉइसेस काफी बढ़ चुकी हैं, लोगों की प्रेफरेंसेस काफी बदल चुकी हैं। साथ ही साथ जेंजी जो है ये भी या तो लीगल एज में अब पहुंच चुके हैं ड्रिंकिंग के, या पहुंचने वाले हैं। और इन्हीं सारी चीजों के बारे में बात करने के लिए आई हैव अ वेरी स्पेशल गेस्ट टुडे। So she has a 4-decade-long experience as an ambassador, as a consultant, and as a mixologist. She is also the first recognized woman bartender of India. And with that, I would like to welcome Ms. Shatbhi Basu on the podcast. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Arun. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
I will say that's very kind of you to say that. Now, since I have a master on my podcast, मेरा पहला question मैम बहुत silly रहेगा. What is your
कोई
favorite
नहीं,
cocktail?
वो बहुत ही डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन है मेरे लिए क्योंकि मेरे फेवरेट कॉकटेल्स जो है वो बदलते रहते हैं। यानी जब भी
Oh,
मैं कुछ नया सोचती हूँ और नया कुछ हम लोग ट्रायल करके बनाते हैं, तो वो थोड़ी देर के लिए वो मेरी फेवरेट कॉकटेल हो जाती है। सो आई डोंट नो कि मेरी अगर कोई रियली कूल फेवरेट कॉकटेल है, बट हाँ, जो जो क्लासिक्स है थोड़े, जैसे मार्टिनी है, जैसे मार्गरीटा है, जैसे नेग्रोनी है, अम, वो काइंड ऑफ मेरे गो टू पॉइंट्स पे हो जाते हैं। या सिंपल टॉल ड्रिंक्स लाइक अ जिन एंड टॉनिक, सिंपल टॉल ड्रिंक।
oh, आपका कैसे एज वी से इन हिंदी के आपका रुझान कैसे शुरू हुआ? हाउ डिड यू गेट इंटरेस्टेड इनटू दिस डोमेन ऑफ वर्क?
तो ये तो इट वाज लाइक अ मिस्टेक। मैं शेफ बनना चाहती थी। कॉलेज में जब थी मैं, तब मैंने सोचा कि मैं शेफ बनूंगी और मुझे स्पेशलाइजेशन करना था चाइनीज किचन में। तो जब मैंने 3 साल होटल मैनेजमेंट के खत्म किए और मुझे नौकरी मिली सेंटोर होटल में एज अ ट्रेनी शेफ। तो जब मैं इंटरव्यू के लिए गई थी तो मैंने उनको कहा था कि माय स्पेशलिटी इज इन द चाइनीज किचन। आई हैव ऑलरेडी ट्रेन्ड 2 साल चाइनीज किचन में, मेरे फ्रेंड्स के साथ, और एक चाइनीज किचन में भी मैंने बहुत ट्रेनिंग करी थी। तो उनको मैंने कहा था कि आई वुड लाइक इट इफ यू वुड बी एबल टू पुट मी इनटू द चाइनीज किचन। तो उन्होंने कहा कि सी वी कांट पुट यू डायरेक्टली, आपको एटलीस्ट 6 महीने मेन किचन में काम करना पड़ेगा और उसके बाद हम आपको चाइनीज किचन में ट्रांसफर करेंगे। तो आई थॉट ठीक ही है, चलो, और भी एक्सपीरियंसेस मिल जाएंगे मेन किचन में काम करते। तो मैंने कहा ओके। तो आई वर्क इन द मेन किचन। 6 महीने निकल गए मेरे, 7 महीने निकल गए, फिर 8 महीने निकल गए, और मुझे ये कहीं दिख नहीं रहा था कि मेरा ट्रांसफर चाइनीज किचन में होगा। फिर मैं पूछती रहती थी, मैं एचआर में जाके पूछती रहती थी कि आई हैव नाउ कंप्लीटेड ऑलमोस्ट 8 months in the main kitchen, and I would really appreciate it if you transferred me to the Chinese kitchen. तो उन्होंने कहा कि हाँ हाँ हो जाएगा, लेकिन और थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा। एंड आई सेड अच्छा ठीक है, तो मुझे आप कट ऑफ डेट तो बता दीजिए कि ठीक है, टेल मी दैट 1 year एंड देन विल ट्रांसफर यू। तो वो कहते थे नो आई कांट रियली टेल यू। तो मुझे ऐसे लग रहा था कि दे वर प्लेइंग विथ मी, कि जहां उनको ज्यादा जरूरत थी वहीं पे मुझे डाल रहे थे, लेकिन चाइनीज किचन में नहीं डाल रहे थे। ऑल्सो मैं उस वक्त आई वॉज द ओनली गर्ल इन द किचन, बाकी देवर ओनली गाइज, और कोई भी लड़की किचन में नहीं थी जो काम कर रही थी।
हम कौन से पीरियड
और
के
हम,
बारे में बात कर रहे हैं मैम? विच ईयर
ये
इज दिस
है
एग्जैक्टली?
1980।
1980। ओके।
1980। तो जो हमारे मेन किचन के जो हेड शेफ थे वो भी थोड़े से नाराज थे। ही वॉज नॉट हैप्पी कि उनके किचन में एक लड़की आ गई। मेरे जो कलीग्स थे किचन में, दे वर वेरी हेल्पफुल एंड दे वर वेरी गुड। पर वो हेड शेफ जो था वो, ही वाज लिटरली बेंट ऑन सेइंग कि आई डोंट वांट हर, एंड आई वाज सेइंग कि ठीक ही है, मुझे भी नहीं रहना अभी, मुझे प्लीज ट्रांसफर कर दो। बट दे डिडंट ट्रांसफर। तो एक दिन मुझे बड़ा गुस्सा आया, मैंने कहा दिस इज वेरी बैड, 9 महीने हो गया, आई वेस्टेड सो मच टाइम in the main kitchen. I, my hands will lose touch with the Chinese kitchen. तो मैंने नौकरी छोड़ दी। मैंने कहा यार तुम लोग अगर ट्रांसफर नहीं कर रहे हो तो मेरा कोई फायदा नहीं है, आई एम गोइंग टू लीव, आई विल फाइंड अनदर जॉब जहाँ वो मुझे चाइनीज किचन में जाने देंगे। तो मैंने नौकरी छोड़ दी और मेरे एक सीनियर थे कॉलेज में, वो एक चाइनीज रेस्टोरेंट जो था बहुत ही पॉपुलर था उस वक्त, इट वाज कॉल्ड चॉपस्टिक्स। दे हैड अ रेस्टोरेंट इन चर्च गेट। तो मैंने सोचा चलो शायद वो मुझे नौकरी दे दे। So I went to meet him and I asked him, I said, will you give me a job? So he said, listen, we are opening a new chopsticks in Linking Road in Bandra. You can join there. It will take some 6 months to open, but you can join us there. काम शुरू हो गया है and we'll start in 6 months. In the meantime, he said, you work in our bakery and salad bar. So I said, okay. So I worked there. And then in 6 months, he transferred me, but he said, listen, I cannot promise you the kitchen. वो मेरे डोमेन के बाहर है। आई एम द मैनेजर फॉर द रेस्टोरेंट। किचन में शेफ इज इन चार्ज। अगर शेफ मिंग तुझे जाने देंगे वो अलग बात है, बट आई हैव नो कंट्रोल ओवर इट। मैंने कहा ठीक है, एटलीस्ट आई वर्क इन द रेस्टोरेंट, और स्लोली स्लोली शायद वो शेफ मुझे किचन में जाने देंगे। तो आई स्टार्टेड वर्किंग देयर। वहां भी देर निकल गई और शेफ मुझे किचन में जाने नहीं देते थे। ही यूज्ड टू से यू डू नॉट एंटर माय किचन, आई डोंट वांट यू इन माय किचन। तो मैंने कहा अब ये क्या हो गया, मैंने क्या किया दैट ही डजंट वांट मी इन द किचन। एंड उसको ऐसे लगा कि ही डिडंट सी माय इंटरेस्ट। ही थॉट कि मैं कुछ एक्स्ट्रा स्मार्ट बन रही थी और मैं उनको दिखाने जा रही थी कि मुझे चाइनीज किचन आता है। एक्चुअली इट वाज द रिवर्स। मैं कह रही थी कि लेट मी लर्न फ्रॉम यू इन द किचन, बट वो नहीं हुआ। तो आई कंटिन्यूड वर्किंग इन द रेस्टोरेंट। और एक दिन मेरे मैनेजर ने कहा मुझे कि अब हमारे पास बारटेंडर नहीं है, तो जो वेटर्स है वो स्ट्रेट ड्रिंक तो पोर कर लेते हैं पर कॉकटेल नहीं बना पाते, तो जो मेन्यू में कॉकटेल्स है वो आपको बनाने पड़ेंगे। तो मैं परेशान हो गई कि मुझे मेंटली आते हैं लेकिन एक्चुअली नहीं आते। मैंने कभी कॉकटेल बनाए नहीं थे। कॉलेज में थोड़ा सा सीखा था हमने, पर स्किल थी नहीं, हमें सिर्फ थियोरेटिकली सब आता था। तो मैंने ये समझाने की कोशिश की एंड ही सेड लिसन आई डोंट केयर, इट्स योर जॉब नाउ, द बार कम्स अंडर यू, यू हैव टू डू इट। और बिफोर आई कुड इवन से अच्छा ठीक है, आई विल लर्न, आई विल टेक आउट माई बुक्स एंड आई विल स्टार्ट रीडिंग, उसके पहले ऑर्डर ऑलरेडी आ गया। हमारे वेटर्स ने ऑर्डर ले लिया और उसने कहा मुझे कि यू हैव टू मेक अ मार्टिनी। तो मैं परेशान। So I went back to the guest and I asked him in detail what kind of a martini he wanted and how dry he wanted it. I got all the answers. So I went to the bar and said, हाँ ठीक है चलो मैं कोशिश तो कर ही लूंगी। So I got the bottle out of the gin to make the martini. I could not see the second ingredient in the martini, which is a dry vermouth. तो मैं ढूंढ रही हूँ, ड्राई वर्मथ है ही नहीं बार में। तो मैंने कहा यार मार्टिनी आप लोग बनाते कैसे हो, वर्मथ तो है नहीं। तो ही सेड यार मुझे नहीं पता, अब तुम सोच लो, अगर नहीं बनता है तो आप जाके बोल लो उनको गेस्ट को कि मैं नहीं बना पाऊंगी। मैंने कहा ये तो नहीं हो सकता, नहीं बना पाऊंगी पहले ही दिन, पहले ही ड्रिंक पे अगर ये कहूंगी तो दैट विल बी रियली बैड। फिर मैं सोचने लगी कि ब्रेक डाउन करने लगी कि व्हाट इज वर्मथ, क्लास में क्या सीखा था हमने। फिर मैंने उसको ब्रेक डाउन किया, मैंने सोचा अच्छा ये तो हो ही सकता है, व्हाइट वाइन तो है मेरे पास, मैं उसी में कुछ जुगाड़ करके मैं बना लूंगी। तो आई गॉट द व्हाइट वाइन, आई गॉट द जिन, मैंने जिन में व्हाइट वाइन डाला और मेरे पास थोड़ा एक एरोमेटिक स्पिरिट था, उसमें मैंने सिर्फ स्टर, क्योंकि वो रेड कलर का था, मुझे तो वो रेड कलर चाहिए नहीं था, तो मैं स्टरर को सिर्फ डिप किया उसमें और एक्स्ट्रा वो निकाल दिया और वो स्टरर से मैंने वो ड्रिंक को आइस के साथ स्टर किया। फिर मैंने मेरे ग्लास में कोल्ड ग्लास बना के रखा था, मैंने उसमें मैंने ट्रांसफर कर दिया, ऑलिव डाल दिया और मैंने वेटर को बोला भाई ले जा तू, अगर गेस्ट को अच्छा लगे तो आके मुझे बता देना, अगर गेस्ट रिटर्न करे तो उसे ये मत कहना कि मैंने बनाया है। बिकॉज आई वॉज रियली स्कैर्ड, आई वॉज रियली स्कैर्ड। तो मैं कोने में जाके छुप गई लिटरली, और ही टुक इट टू द टेबल एंड द गेस्ट रियली लाइक्ड इट एंड आस्क्ड टू मेक अ सेकंड ड्रिंक। तो मैंने कहा यार ये तो अच्छा है, पहली ड्रिंक मेरी सक्सेसफुल हो गई। और उसने सेकंड रिपीट ऑर्डर मांगा। तो आई सेड दिस साउंड्स लाइक अ गुड आइडिया। फिर उस दिन घर जाके मेरे पास किताबें तो थी, लेकिन तभी मेरा इंटरेस्ट सिर्फ किचन में था, तो वो किताबें मैंने उनको कभी हाथ नहीं लगाया था, मैंने सीरियसली नहीं देखा था। तो मैंने वो किताब निकाली, बारटेंडिंग की गाइड थी पूरी, और वो गाइड पढ़ने लगी। और जितना मैंने ज्यादा पढ़ा उतना मेरा इंटरेस्ट और बढ़ा। तो मैंने 2 दिन में वो मैं हाथ में, वहां पे भी मैं लेके जाती थी मेरे साथ, और 2 दिन में मैंने पूरी किताब पढ़ ली। और मैं समझ गई कि यार ये तो अच्छी चीज है, दिस साउंड्स लाइक अ गुड आइडिया टू मी। शेफ तो वैसे भी नहीं जाने दे रहा है, वो जब उसका मूड होगा तब ठीक है, देखा जाएगा, तब तक आई कैन डू समथिंग डिफरेंट। तो देन आई स्टार्टेड वेरी सीरियसली स्टडिंग। यानी मैं रोज किताब पढ़ती थी, और फिर जितनी और किताबें मिली मुझे वो सब पढ़ने लगी। जो मेन्यू के कॉकटेल्स थे वो तो मैंने पूरे पढ़ ही लिए, और मैंने एक्सपेरिमेंट भी कर लिए, ट्रायल्स कर लिए, और आई कुड डू देम ऑल रियली वेल। उसके बाद फिर मैं बोर होने लगी, मैंने कहा ये 5 कॉकटेल से क्या होगा, अब मुझे और नए वाले ऐड करने चाहिए। देन आई स्टार्टेड एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग मोर, एंड आई स्टार्टेड एडिंग नए नए कॉकटेल, और गेस्ट को बड़े अच्छे लगे। और मैं ऑलरेडी जाके गेस्ट के साथ तो बात कर ही देती थी, बिकॉज मैं फूड ऑर्डर लेने जाती थी उनके पास, उनको समझाती थी। तो उसके बाद मैं ड्रिंक ऑर्डर का भी मैंने शुरू कर दिया। तो इट वाज वेरी इजी फॉर मी, क्योंकि कम्युनिकेशन तो मेरा था ही फ्लोर पे, एंड द गेस्ट यूज्ड टू रियली लाइक माय कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स। So I started then taking orders for new cocktails. फिर मैं बना के फिर खुद में जाके उनको देती थी, that I've made it for you. फिर उनके मुंह से मुझे पता चल जाता था कि whether they like it or they don't like it.
Uh,
अगर
yeah,
ऐसा मुझे
that we
लगा
cannot
कि
hide.
they don't like it very much, तो मैं उनके साथ जाके बात करती थी, उनको पूछती थी कि क्या अच्छा नहीं लगा, क्या चेंज चाहिए आपको उसमें। मैं ड्रिंक वापस ले जाके उसको फिर रिपेयर करके फिर से वापस देती थी। और व्हेन आई सॉ द स्माइल ऑन देयर फेस, आई यूज्ड टू नो ओके आई हैव डन अ गुड जॉब। फिर मैं सोचने लगी धीरे 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 कि यार यही जॉब अच्छा है। मैं किचन में जाती और मैं कुछ खाना वहां पकाती, मुझे कभी गेस्ट का मुंह देखने तो मिलता नहीं, मुझे कभी पता नहीं चलेगा कि उनको मेरा मेरा डिश अच्छा लगा। दे डोंट नो हु इज मेकिंग इट इन द किचन। ऑल्सो आई एम इन द रेस्टोरेंट, आई एम वर्किंग विद एसी, कूल जगह है, एयर कंडीशनर चलता है, म्यूजिक चलता है। थिंकिंग कि यार मुझे किचन में क्यों जाना चाहिए, वहां एक तो गर्मी होती है, वहां भसड़ होता है, लोग कुछ भी बोलते हैं, किसी को गुस्सा आ गया तो गाली भी दे देते हैं, और आवाज ही आवाज आता है ऑल द टाइम। सो आई थॉट यस। तो उसके बाद मैं पढ़ने लगी, मैं और पढ़ने लगी, मेरा नॉलेज और बढ़ता गया। एंड उसके बाद आई नेवर लुक्ड बैक, मैंने किचन को छोड़ दिया। बाद में शायद वो शेफ भी मेरे से दोस्ती बना ली उसने, एंड ही न्यू कि मुझे इतना आता है। तो जब शॉर्टेज होती थी किचन में, तो वो मुझे बुलाता था और कहता था कि तुम ऑर्डर निकालो सब, बिकॉज ही न्यू दैट आई न्यू हाउ टू डू दैट। सो देन आई गॉट द बेस्ट ऑफ बोथ वर्ल्ड्स। वहां पे आई वॉज हेल्पिंग देम एवरी वंस इन अ while in the kitchen, but I was also doing a good job with the bar। और मेरी बिकॉज ऑफ दैट मेरी नॉलेज भी बढ़ती गई, क्योंकि मैं पढ़ती भी बहुत थी। क्योंकि मेरा एक चीज था कि अगर कुछ करो तो ढंग से करो, नहीं तो करो मत। तो आई केप्ट ऑन रीडिंग। फिर जब टाइम मिलता था, हम सिटी में जाते थे, कभी फाउंटेन पे, स्ट्रीट्स पे बुक्स बेचते थे लोग। और बहुत ओल्ड बुक शॉप्स भी थी वहां पे। तो वहां जाके मैं बुक्स ढूंढती थी, स्पिरिट्स पे, वाइन पे, कॉकटेल्स पे। क्योंकि इतना पैसा तो था नहीं हमारे पास तब, दैट वी कुड गो टू अ प्रॉपर बुक शॉप एंड बाय। तो जो सेकंड हैंड बुक्स मिलती थी अच्छे दाम में, वही हम खरीद लेते थे। कभी कभी बहुत ही अच्छी बुक्स मिलती थी जो लोगों को समझ में नहीं आती थी, उनके काम की थी नहीं, तो
Right.
वी गॉट अ रियली गुड प्राइस ऑन इट। तो वैसे कर करके मैं सीखी, और नॉलेज बढ़ा। फिर अगर कोई मिलता था मुझे जो बाहर से आया है, जिनका नॉलेज मेरे से ज्यादा है, जो कंपनी से आते थे, तो मैं उनसे और बात करती थी। एंड आई स्टडीड मोर एंड लर्न मोर। उसके बाद आई नेवर लुक बैक, आई सेड दिस इज व्हाट आई वांट टू डू, एंड दिस इज व्हाट आई नीड टू बिकम वेरी गुड एट। That was the beginning and that was the end. It was a big mistake that went really right for me.
A very big and a beautiful mistake, ma'am, I would say that.
I think
Uh,
so. I think so.
the best part is what I find is आप उन सिचुएशंस को बड़ा परफेक्टली रिक्रिएट कर पा रही हैं अपनी मेमोरी से. यू कुड डिस्क्राइब, आई वाज लाइक कि शायद मैं भी वहां खड़ा होकर आपको देख रहा हूँ सब चीजें करते हुए या परेशान
But
होते हुए.
it's still so fresh in my mind. That whole thing of every step that I made a change, and every step जहाँ पे मैंने situation को change करके मैंने use किया to gain more knowledge. Till today, I feel it's really fresh in my mind.
इंडीड मैम. जब हम आपके एक्सपीरियंस को सुनते हैं तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है अक्रॉस, इफ आई बी इंडस्ट्री एग्नोस्टिक, यानी मैं इंडस्ट्री को छोड़ दूं, तो हर इंडस्ट्री और एचआर की शायद यही है कि फ्रेशर को वहां डालो जहां जरूरत है. तो मुझे
सही
अलग
है.
अलग इंडस्ट्रीज में काम करके आपकी बात सुन के ये लगा डेकेड्स अलग हो सकते हैं, सिचुएशन सभी की सेम ही रहती है.
करेक्ट.
एवरीबॉडी कैन
बिल्कुल
रिलेट टू
सही है.
दिस. अभी
बिल्कुल सही है.
मैंने एक कोट पढ़ा मैम कि टू बी अ गुड मिक्सोलॉजिस्ट यू हैव टू बी अ गुड बारटेंडर फर्स्ट. सो
करेक्ट.
for our listeners, if you could just touch upon ki what exactly is a mixologist, उसका job क्या होता है, and what is your view कि mixologist और bartender, how do they correlate इस तरीके से?
ओके, सो अब आप, ये जो न्यू जनरेशन है, उनको लगता है दैट बारटेंडर एंड मिक्सोलॉजिस्ट इज द सेम थिंग. दिस इज द व्यू ऑफ द न्यू जनरेशन. If I can mix a drink, I am a mixologist. uh, from my perspective, I feel that I took a very long time to become a mixologist, because in my mind, a mixologist is someone who not only knows how to mix a drink. A mixologist is someone who knows everything you need to know about the bar, everything you need to know about every spirit and every bottle that's inside the bar. You need to know its history, you need to know its tradition, how it's made, the processes, what it tastes like, why each one tastes different, and what is the process that makes every whiskey different from another whiskey, or a gin, or a vodka, or a rum. Across the spirits, why are wines different from each other in different countries? I can take one grape, but it will taste different in France, it will taste different in America, it tastes different in Australia, it tastes different in India. Even within India, it tastes different in Bangalore and it tastes different in Nasik. Same grape. So to understand why that happens, I feel that if you have the answers to all of these things, then you would make a good mixologist, because a good mixologist knows which spirit to choose to make a great drink. He won't choose it randomly, and he will not exchange one whiskey for another randomly. कि जो हाथ में आए ले लो, जो सामने है वो ले लो. That is something what someone who does not have the knowledge will do. कि whiskey is whiskey, मुझे whiskey सार बनाना है, ये whiskey आज, कल whiskey कोई और, आज सस्ती आ गई तो ये वाली ले लो. It changes the drink. To have that knowledge and to know which one to pick, which spirit to pick for what kind of cocktail, I think that's a science and an art. And only when you understand all of this, when you understand the entire underbelly of the spirits world, that is when I think, in my mind, you make a great mixologist. And for that, you need to be a great bartender, because a great bartender works on a bar. He sees everything every day. He sees the bottles every day. He sees people every day. He understands the psychology of the people that he meets. He knows what they want. And then, because he knows what's inside his bar and he's understood the differences, he also then knows what is a good drink to make. And I think that's when the conversion happens from a great bartender to a great mixologist. My thing, I always say this, I would rather work with a great bartender than work with a mediocre mixologist. That's my thing.
Wow.
But a lot of people don't agree with me. So I have to tell you that this is not what everyone thinks. This is just me. I took almost, I think, maybe 17, 18 years before, or maybe even 20 years before I could say that I was a mixologist. Until then, I was very happy to say bartender. And even today, I'm very happy if someone says to me that you are really a great bartender. I'm a super happy person. मुझे ऐसे नहीं लगता कि अरे they called me a bartender. I'm not a bartender, I'm a mixologist. No, no. If you are not and never a great bartender, then you can never be a mixologist. Because if you don't
Wow.
understand the psyche of a person who comes to your bar, that's the end of everything.
I think
You
with
exist
most of the
because the customer exists. If there is
yeah,
no customer, then you have no identity.
I think with most of the things when I speak to my guest या फिर मैं जनरल लाइफ में भी लोगों से बात करता हूँ, what I really realize is कि there is a method to every science and art. मतलब when you practice
Absolutely.
is and when you are consistent at it, तो आप उसको साइंस एंड आर्ट का एक मिक्सचर बनाते हो, एक प्रोसेस बनाते हो, एंड देन यू मे बी स्ट्राइव टू अचीव द ग्रेटनेस जो किसी भी चीज में
बिल्कुल,
चाहिए होती है. So I
बिल्कुल.
mean, even when you are describing it, it sounds more like a science and a combination of art of choosing of the
It is
ingredients.
science.
जैसे
Everything we do in mixology is science. आप शुरुआत करो अल्कोहल से. Alcohol is what? It's a molecule and a mix of three atoms. That in itself comes down to chemistry.
chemistry,
Everything
yeah,
जो जो मैं करती हूँ बार में, that is either physics or chemistry. So if I shake a drink, there is both, there is friction, and from that friction I create a suspension. That's physics. If I
and
just
that to
simply
be
stir three ingredients, I'm creating a solution.
yeah,
If I shake something, I'm breaking a molecule down into multiple molecules and multiple atoms. Again, it's all science. Also, when I shake, I'm bringing oxygen into the mix. So everything that we do is science. Then once you start putting it in a glass, then it becomes art, because you need to understand color. You need to know that if I mix these three things, what is the end result color going to be? So you need to know color palette. You need to know color charts. You need to know colors the way they are: primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors. What
wow,
makes purple? What makes green? What makes orange? Um, Only then will I know how my drink is going to turn out, when I take my ingredients and each ingredient has a different color. And if I mix it together, what will happen? So साइंस भी है, आर्ट भी है, स्किल भी है,
yeah.
कम्युनिकेशन भी
Uh,
है. इट्स
it's
एवरीथिंग.
part process, part presentation maybe.
यस,
प्रोसेस भी है, प्रेजेंटेशन भी है, एंड आई कुड नेवर थिंक
बिल्कुल.
आपसे बात करने से पहले कि इतनी सारी
और
चीजें
कम्युनिकेशन
सोचनी
भी
पड़ती
आती है.
होंगी.
और
या
कम्युनिकेशन विद द गेस्ट. क्योंकि अगर गेस्ट को अच्छा नहीं लगा, तो चाहे तुम कितना भी अच्छा ड्रिंक बनाओ, आप कहोगे कि ये मेरा परफेक्ट ड्रिंक है, लेकिन अगर कस्टमर को परफेक्ट नहीं लगा, तो आपका ड्रिंक परफेक्ट हो ही नहीं सकता. So unless the
ब्यूटीफुली
customer
सर.
drinks it, appreciates it, likes it, and says, "Oh my God, this is perfect," only then your drink is perfect.
या
Up till then, what you think does not matter. So to
या
understand that also is a process.
या
So it's not about me. It is
इट्स
about
अबाउट
the
द
person on the
कस्टमर.
other side of the bar. Without him, I'm nobody.
आई थिंक दैट इज द डेप्थ वन गेट्स जब वो इंसान अपने आर्ट को, अपने क्राफ्ट को बहुत सीरियसली लेता है, और व्हेन इट्स वेरी क्लोज टू हिम और हर, तो आई थिंक देन वन कैन अचीव दैट पर्सपेक्टिव. और ये मैंने काफी लोगों से बात करते हुए सुना है जो अपने क्राफ्ट के रियली फॉर देम द क्राफ्ट इज समथिंग मोर देन जस्ट अ क्राफ्ट, इट्स अ पार्ट ऑफ देमसेल्व्स मे बी.
Correct.
नाउ
It's an extension of
आई
who you are.
Right. This is the exact phase of it, the extension of who you are. Now I will be first, I will be confessing ki I am a very simple beer and LIT person. But my friends, when I see them drinking, I see them ordering so many different kinds of drink. और उनके थ्रू मैंने उनके ऑर्डर्स के थ्रू काफी कुछ मैंने सीखा है. तो पहले जब मूवीज के थ्रू एजुकेशन होती है इन चीजों में, तो कहते हैं जैसे पटियाला पैग में बर्फ है और नीट है. तो दिस इज द बेसिक एजुकेशन ऑफ आई थिंक एवरी इंडियन मिडिल क्लास लड़का या लड़की जब भी वो देखता है कोई.
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल,
हाउ
बिल्कुल.
हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट इज मैम आइस इन अ ड्रिंक? हाउ
Super
इम्पोर्टेंट इज इट?
important. Super important. In fact, you can have the greatest of ingredients. But if you don't have the right kind of ice and the right quantity of ice, your drink will be absolutely bad. So every drink has its own perspective of ice. If it's a cocktail, then the colder the drink, the better it is. The more ice you use, your drink will be better. But there is a science to that as well. When you shake a drink, the level of your liquid should be lower than the level of the ice. Liquid here, ice here. The reason is when you shake alcohol with ice, there is friction. Friction and alcohol together creates heat, which means it will break down the ice and the ice will start melting, which means you'll get a watery drink. But
Oh,
if the liquid is here and the ice is here, then whatever heat is generated by the alcohol and the friction will be counteracted by the extra ice that you have used. Therefore, it will not break down the ice. Therefore, your liquid will get cold, but it will not get diluted. And when you finish making your drink, your shaker will still have ice in it and it will be full of ice.
wow. It's so beautiful to listen to you, just describing how a drink is made.
So,
It's
so
so
you know
great to
what I'm
just listen
saying?
to it.
तो
Yeah.
मुझे कभी कितनी बार लोग when I'm talking to them वो कहते हैं यार मेरे ड्रिंक में आइस मत डालो मेरी ड्रिंक डाइल्यूट हो जाती है तो मैं उनको हमेशा कहती हूँ कि जितना आइस ज्यादा डालोगे उतनी ड्रिंक कम डाइल्यूट होगी जितना आइस कम डालोगे the ice has to work very hard to cool the drink. It's like going to the
Oh,
gym. When you work really hard and you start sweating, if you put
yeah.
2 cubes of ice and you expect those 2 cubes to cool your entire glass, obviously the ice will melt because that's too much load. But if you fill
Yeah.
your glass with ice and then put your drink on it, it will stay cold. And even when you finish drinking it, your glass will still be half full of ice. So ice is
Oh,
extremely important. But on
yeah.
the other hand, say for example, we're talking about whiskey and we want to taste some whiskey. When you want to taste a whiskey, then you use very little ice. The idea of using the ice is simply to change the temperature of the whiskey for a tasting, only for a tasting. So when you pour whiskey from a bottle into a glass, in India, our temperatures are very warm.
Yeah.
So the bottle temperature is also warm, even if it's inside a bar, even if the bar is got AC, that temperature of that whiskey will still not be that cold. So when you pour it, गर्म जब होती है विस्की तो अल्कोहल जो है वो ऊपर फ्लोट करता है. It's trying to escape into the air because गर्मी में alcohol evaporates. So it's always floating on top of the whiskey in the hope that it will start to evaporate. But if you change the temperature of the whiskey and make it cold, then it stops evaporating because now the alcohol has gone back inside the drink. It's part of the suspension but staying in. Then when you smell this whiskey, in the first one, if you smell that whiskey, you'll get alcohol going up your nose. If you taste that whiskey, when it doesn't have the ice, the sides of your tongue will start to burn. You'll get a burning sensation in your mouth. But the same whiskey, if you put 1 cube of ice, it doesn't have to be a big cube. It can be a very small cube. If it's a big cube, you simply put it in, stir it, and then take the ice and throw it away. And you
Wow.
see, try it out. Okay? One of these days, you try it out. Take a bottle of whiskey, take 2 glasses. Okay? Pour it in both. One glass, let it stay the way it is. और दूसरे ग्लास में जो है या तो एक टुकड़ा छोटा टुकड़ा आइस का डालो या तो आइस में स्टर करके उसको निकाल दो आइस को. I don't want to freeze the drink. I simply want to change the temperature and make it cool. Or if you have very, very cold water, then take one small cap of cold water and pour it in. Just a little bit. If you pour too much, it will change. It will become watered. That's why ice is best. Break the ice, एक छोटा chip, and put it in.
Great.
And if you smell the
Definitely.
difference, you'll find the first one, you'll smell a lot of alcohol. But if you swirl this and you smell this, you'll actually smell the whiskey in this one. You'll start getting sweet flavors. If you taste this, it'll burn. If you taste this one, you'll suddenly say, "Oh my God, I'm getting zero burn and it's soft in my mouth."
Wow.
So ice is very important at all stages. It's one of the
First,
most important thing
first
and
thing,
especially to serve something
yeah,
on ice. If you see a nice square ice cube which is large, which is completely clear, by default you start feeling good.
yep. I think the first thing I will do while editing this podcast is definitely I'm going to take some notes और मेरे दोस्तों के लिए वीकेंड पे होमवर्क जरूर बन गया है काफी
No, you should
इंटरेस्टिंग
try
होमवर्क
it.
दैट इज I will
You
definitely
try
try
it and
this. I will.
you'll see what a massive change it is.
Yep.
It's a huge difference in the two glasses.
One thing, ma'am, while traveling, I have noticed is कि different cities have different preferences or maybe different outlook towards कि कैसे how they treat drinks and how the drinking culture is. So for you, which is the city that you like the most? For I mean, whose drinking culture do you like the most, and what are the possible reasons for them? What is so good about it?
So I'm biased, right? I live in Bombay.
Kolkata? Okay,
I
okay,
live in
Mumbai.
Bombay, so for me, Bombay is my
Okay,
city.
okay.
Kolkata, though, has a pretty decent drinking culture. They drink very well and they drink good quality and they appreciate good quality. So, that I have to say. I have worked a little bit in Kolkata, I have had projects there, and I have noticed
Yeah,
this that a lot of them, they all drink good quality of spirit. They don't drink cheap quality of spirit too much. So they appreciate quality. That I've seen for sure in Calcutta. In Bombay, our market is different, meaning you have everything here. There are
yeah,
people who are completely non-pretentious, who will say, भाई मुझे यही चाहिए और मुझे कोई मतलब ही नहीं है तुम्हारे अच्छे अच्छे अल्कोहल से क्योंकि मुझे टेस्ट में फर्क नहीं पड़ता. I have not learned the
mm,
art of tasting, and therefore whatever you give me is wasted on me. So I am happy to drink what I'm drinking, and it's okay to leave them alone. There's no problem with that, and we are also not judgmental about them. We are happy to leave them the way they are. And then you have the others who are interested in learning, who are always
mm.
asking us questions, who want to know more and who want to drink better, but want to know why they should drink better and what is the difference. So this is when we do tastings like this. When I say now, this is the whiskey that you usually drink, this is the whiskey that I'm recommending. Taste them both side by side. I won't tell you which is which. You taste and you tell me which tastes better in your mouth. Then you understand the difference in the two. So for tasting, this is how I do it. However, for drinking, I try very hard not to be judgmental. I always say, agar, if you're paying money for your drink, it's your mouth and your happiness. I should not be judgmental about you. I can try and educate you. I can try and recommend what will taste better with it, but I should not judge you if it's your money. I can judge you if it's my money. Then I can say whatever I want to you.
Oh,
Then I
great.
can,
These are very
then
clever
I can say,
aphorisms, ma'am.
hey, I'm giving you good quality whiskey. What are you doing? And I have a lot of friends. मेरे दोस्त बड़े बेशरम हैं. वो कभी कभी मुझे लगता है जस्ट टू इरिटेट मी ना वो ऐसा सब करते हैं. They'll pour a really good quality whiskey. They used to pour and they used to fill the glass with ice. Then they'll fill it with soda and they'll say वाह कितना अच्छा फ्लेवर है. And they knew कि मैं उनको देख के ही मुझे कुछ हो जाएगा कि ये लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, इतनी अच्छी विस्की को इतना बर्बाद कर रहे हैं. बट देन आई टू टेल माई सेल्फ विस्की उसकी है, पैसा उसका है, मुंह उसका है. डोंट से एनीथिंग.
सही है.
But now they've learned after all this time with me. Now
Yeah.
the same person drinks it in the right way and he looks at me and says, "You were right." And I'm like, it's never too late. It's okay.
I'm pretty sure you
So,
might have experienced in north इस side में जो है सर्दी आते ही all have one go-to drink that is Old Monk.
correct.
I have been with I can say कुछ sophisticated लोग and when winters are there ठीक है बाहर जा रहे हैं, दे आर हैविंग देयर चॉइस ऑफ ड्रिंक्स एंड ऑल दैट, बट देन इट ऑल बॉइल्स डाउन टू ओल्ड मॉन्क, जो आप
ओल्ड
कैटेगरी
मॉन्क,
पहले बोल रहे थे. Yeah,
ओल्ड मॉन्क.
that I don't know how did it catch up और क्या हुआ कैसे हुआ, but across the states this is something that is very common.
So
This
there were
this
not
old
too
monk
many.
phenomena.
First thing is there were not too many rums around. There were only a few brands of rums in that
Yeah.
bracket. So when I was growing up, in my days, there was something called Khode's Triple X rum, which came from the
Okay.
south. But their focus later turned into the armed forces. So then
Yeah. Black
their
wali.
distribution, their distribution went
Yeah.
down. Old Monk, on the other hand, focused their distribution across the country. They did a good job with their distribution. They were very strict. Even now, their distributors are like, "Paisa lao or leke jao." All the others give you credit. The Old Monk guys never give you credit.
It
Yeah.
sometimes it runs out of stock. I've seen it. People
Yes,
complaining
it
कि यार
does.
वो नहीं
It
मिले.
does.
That happens.
But now I think they're back on. They're back on, so it's not a problem. Now, in fact, they've started expanding their portfolio also. So now they have more than just simple old-fashioned Old Monk. But also there were not too many rums at that time. Apart from Old Monk, there was also McDowell's Celebration rum.
Yeah,
So
I've
that
seen
was
it
another
sometimes.
one.
Yes.
But it does well in retail, but it does not do very well in restaurants. So in restaurants,
Yeah.
the only one that did well was Old Monk. McDowell's Celebration, though was a very good rum, did not do very well in restaurants as much. It did well though in the lower level of restaurants, but in the grade one and the top level restaurants, it did not do very well. Personally, I used to think it was a really good rum. But today, now it's changing. Also, there were not too many good imported rums also. And if they were very, very, very expensive. So there was nothing in between. Either there was 400 rupees ki Old Monk. I think now it's about 556 in some markets. And after that, it was straight away 5,000 rupees. बीच में कुछ नहीं था.
बीच में
And
कुछ
we
नहीं.
always said कि अगर बीच वाला कुछ आ जाए, so the rum market will also change. So now it's coming. Slowly it's coming. Couple of new brands are coming in the range of 800 to 1500 to 1800. So new rums are coming in, but still nobody has made that much inroads. What you need is good quality dark rum, but at this price. There's a colleague of mine who has just started 6 months ago bringing in a rum at 800. Dark rum is doing really well,
Yeah.
but they're available right now only in Maharashtra, nowhere else. But it'll
I
take
think
them time because they're a very small company, craft hai. So it'll take them
uh,
time to kind of develop it to be able to make it a big brand. Old Monk has got serious history. You can't compete straight away with somebody with such serious history. To compete with that, you have to put in a lot of money and a lot of effort into
a
your
lot of
product.
effort,
It
and
doesn't matter how good it is. Effort and reach is what you need to do.
I
So,
think old
so
monk
Old
has
Monk,
also
that's
made
why,
inroads in public consciousness as well. मतलब ठंडी
yeah.
जो एक कल्चर आता है ठंडी और ओल्ड मॉन्क, या आई थिंक दिस इज वेरी गुड
So
डिफरेंशिएशन जो आपने बताया प्राइस पॉइंट्स के हिसाब से, दैट हाउ
it's
मे बी दैट कुड बी अ रीजन दैट दे मेड so much of inroads. Never thought of it
so
like this, honestly.
so gin was the same. We had very poor quality of gin, Blue Ribbon. That was the only gin available, which was also at the same price, 500 rupees. And after that, there were the imported rums, Bombay Sapphire, Gordon's, Tanqueray, straight away
Hmm.
3,000 rupees. It's
Yeah.
only when Greater Than came in at 1,400 rupees, that's when the market changed and the market broke. Today, in that segment, Greater Than is the biggest selling gin. Now
Hmm.
there are other gins that have come in that range. So it opened up the market because Greater Than was successful, because they priced it correctly. Other gins also started, and in within 5 years there were 20 gins. But
Hmm.
because we haven't seen this breakthrough in rum, we're still struggling. There are new rums, most of them are white rums,
Bacardi
and
lemon, I
I
guess
still
people are all.
Bacardi is there. Bacardi came and broke the market at that time, but then they went out of. They're not as big in the market as they were when they first came in.
Hmm.
But we are not a white rum drinking market. We are a dark rum drinking market. So to succeed, you have to bring in something in that category.
Yeah.
In the white
This is
rum
this is
category, you will still remain very small. There are three new white rums, but they're all of them are this small.
I never view rum through the lens of supply and demand जैसे मैंने आज
It
देखा, and
is
it really opened my eyes. मतलब it's so good to know and understand finally कि कोई चीज शायद इतनी successful क्यों है. There was no answer to this
absolutely
before
है.
this.
So and it's
One
it's
thing,
like a Old Monk has become like a heritage, nostalgic brand. People who were in college drank it. Now they go out of the country, they still want to drink it. I have my cousins who have been out of the country for almost 20 years or more.
true,
But every time they're here, or if I'm going, they'll tell me, "Yeah, bring a bottle of Old Monk." Even now,
yeah,
this time when my daughter came and went back to Australia, she took a bottle of Old Monk with her. I forced her to take another bottle of this other rum that I was telling you about called Pitbull. I said, no, no, take this also.
yeah,
Try the difference. Both are good rum.
yeah. It will take time,
So
I
open
guess.
the mind.
Let's see.
Of course it will take
Yeah.
time. Of course it will take time. No question about it.
One thing that I wanted to ask you is the Indian alcohol market, the domestic brands lately have caught up. I think Bira is also a homegrown brand, if I'm not wrong on
Correct.
that one.
Correct.
So over the years, how do you see this changing market? And the biggest thing is कि customer acceptance भी है. मतलब जो लोग जा रहे हैं, they view it safe to drink, good to drink, and even in some cases cool to drink. So what is this homegrown market all about, according to you?
So this, I think, change or this revolution, I would say, started maybe um, slowly, very quietly, almost 15, 20 years ago. However, it was a very slow process. They were still getting to understand and getting to be there. They were experimenting on their own. And it started with whiskey. When uh, Amrut distillery started making their single malt. But they were actually originally suppliers of spirits and malt spirits and grain spirits to the big distillers. So at that time, they were only traders. They were not brand builders. They had a few small brands, but mostly they were doing trading of malt spirits. So when people started talking about single malt, they realized that listen, we have so much malt spirit that we are aging and giving it to other people for blending. Why are we not doing it? So when the second generation, when the younger generation came into the business, that's when it started changing. When the younger generation, the son, said that I think this is what we should do, he was studying management and he decided that he would take this on as his project, single malt from India. And they made it, and it was never available in India, it was only available in England. They took it there, they tried it in that market first. They put it at all the spirit competitions and exhibitions that were happening in the West. And people started talking about it. I still remember I was in America visiting the distilleries in Kentucky and Tennessee for bourbon whiskey. And I met a journalist there who asked me about Amrut. And I was so ashamed of myself that I had no idea about Amrut whiskey at all. And he was saying, man, it was really good. We tried it at the spirits exhibition. And I was feeling so ashamed. I was like, मेरे country की whiskey है मुझे ही नहीं पता है. And I'm in the business of knowing it. So the
Yeah,
minute I came back, I sent a message to my friend saying, is this whiskey available in our market? He said, no, it's not available. फिर मैंने उनको ढूंढ निकाला इंटरनेट के जरिए और मैंने उनको ईमेल भेजा to ask them about it and said that listen, I need to taste this whiskey. Please tell me where it's available. They had just begun to launch it in Bangalore. So he told me, no worries, I will make sure that somebody comes to Bombay and gives you a bottle. And I said, no, tell me where it's available in Bangalore. If I have somebody going to Bangalore, I'll ask them to pick it up. And that's how I got the first bottle of the Amrut single malt. There were two versions of it. One was Amrut single malt and one was Amrut fusion single malt. And at that time, I was writing an article for the Telegraph magazine, the newspaper, for their color magazine called T2. And they had asked me to write something on non-Scotch whiskies.
Okay.
And I said, give me a little more time because I need to write about Amrut and I haven't got the bottle yet. So, it was such a, and then after that, Paul John started. They started making their single malt as well because they saw how successful Amrut was and how they got an opening in the international market and how people outside our country were appreciating it. At that time, Indians did not appreciate Indian products. In our minds, anything made in India was rubbish and everything made outside the country was great. Till people
Yeah.
started talking about it. And then people started asking questions, but they made it unavailable. Till they were sure that people would appreciate it. And only then they launched it. First in Bangalore, and then slowly, slowly they started launching it in other cities. Then Paul John came into the fray. They were also in the same business. They were also aging stuff, but they were not really bottling it as a single malt. They put up a new plant in Goa and they started making single malt there. And after the first 3 years of aging, 4 years of aging, they started bottling it. And it was really, really good quality. Excellent. They also got amazing reviews all over India, all over the world. In Scotland itself, in England, um, they put it out everywhere there, and all the journals there talked about how good they were. But they also started launching it in India simultaneously, and they had a great team behind them. So that started, and once these two came into the picture, and when gin suddenly started reappearing on the international market with renewed interest, that's when the young people of our country, especially, and almost all these entrepreneurs have either worked in the beverage business or were bartenders or have worked in the alcohol business or in the restaurant business. Almost all of these young entrepreneurs have started like that. That हमारे बार में जिन नहीं मिल रहा है तो हमें जिन बनाना चाहिए. And that's how the two people who started Greater Than, Anand Virmani and Vaibhav Singh, uh, that's how they began, followed by all the others. Stranger and Sons, same story. Rahul also was working in the beverage space. He had also started a craft brewery. The same thing started with beers as well. There were three, four of them who worked so hard to change the beer policy for microbrewing. We did not have a microbrewing policy at all. And
Hmm.
finally, these guys, they left their corporate cushy jobs and got together and said, why are we not having micro beer in our country? We can drink it everywhere in the world, but in our country, we don't have it. And they literally spent almost 4 to 5 years trying to change the policy, and finally, they were able to do it. And that's how we started getting craft beers. And then suddenly we discovered there's life beyond Kingfisher and lager beer. So,
Indeed.
this is how that process developed. We had Desmond who discovered by mistake while traveling that agave grows in the plains of Andhra Pradesh, in the Chittoor district. And he said that I've seen the same thing in Mexico. If it grows here, why are we not doing anything with it? So he went back to Mexico. He learnt there, came back, started a distillery in Andhra Pradesh, then helped farmers there and told them that, hey, grow this. It's good for you. Earlier, the farmers were using them only as boundaries.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
they said, no, grow it as a crop.
Wow.
So this is how I
Na
think it has been developing. The younger generation, I think, is a very brave generation in our country because it takes someone to be extremely brave to deal with our excise policies in the country. You have to be very brave. seriously. And you have to have people who not just support you financially, but support you emotionally and mentally as well. You have to have
It
that
could
kind of courage. And all of
it
these
would have
young
been
people, I
arduous
think,
task.
yeah, I think all these young people who are doing it have tremendous amount of courage in what they are doing and the brands that they are producing. I think it's fantastic.
ग्रेट मैम आई थिंक नाउ जब भी मैं किसी माइक्रो ब्रूअरी में जाऊंगा आई वुड रियली अप्रिशिएट दैट बियर इन माय हैंड मोर और
No, it's really fantastic to try things, you know.
या
कि हमें पहले कभी कुछ मिलता ही नहीं था. Now you can sit across and try 4 5 different styles of beers
डिफरेंट
and you can
फ्लेवर्स
then
या
decide कि आपको क्या अच्छा लगा, कौन सा beer अच्छा लगा. Sometimes you find कि नहीं एक नहीं, I like 3 beers. So you know कि okay,
या
I have a chance of trying new things
even in
every time.
even in good restaurants now they're offering it without cost and all that they will just first show you what they're offering and then you can choose तो आप
Correct.
अपने preference से ले सकते हो now I will really appreciate
Absolutely.
that more
Yes.
एक एक बात और आपने बहुत सही कही थी शुरुआत में कि आपसे बात करते करते टाइम का पता नहीं चलता ट्रूली इट्स 15 minutes instead of 30-40 minutes what I was assuming so although
You
there are
will
many
have
more things
a
I
very
wanted.
tough time editing, no?
No, I don't think so. There is any editing required. I think I have been very fortunate कि जितने भी मेरे podcast हुए हैं, I have never got anything to be edited. It's so smooth and very refined in a way to. I don't find anything that, according to me, needs to be edited. But मैम podcast का end भी मैं आपसे ना एक silly question से करूँगा. So I
कोई
was
बात नहीं.
for talking to you, I was just researching because I don't know that much. Speaking to you, I thought I should do my research a bit well. तो पंच करके जो कॉकटेल है आई फाउंड आउट समवेयर कि वो मे बी उसका ओरिजिन इंडिया में है कहीं इज इट ट्रू और हैव यू एवर हर्ड अबाउट इट समथिंग
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल. It comes from the word panch. 5 elements
ओके
that go into the making of the punch. And that's why they called it punch because of that's what they say that punch comes from the word punch and the original punch had 5 elements to it. So when you think of that, then I guess it
या
makes sense.
या एंड थैंक्स टू यू मैम आपने इतनी सारी चीजें बताई एंड मोर ऑफ इट फॉर मी पर्सनली नाउ आई सी द एफर्ट्स इन साइंस बिहाइंड इट शायद जो मैं पहले नहीं देख पाता था आई वुड बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट बिकॉज आपको पता ही नहीं होगा तो आप वो चीज समझोगे कैसे एंड दिस इज माय एफर्ट कि ऐसे टॉपिक्स जो अभी तक जिनके बारे में कॉन्वर्जेशंस नहीं है या जो बैकड्रॉप में हो रही है और जो सामने आनी चाहिए सो दैट इवन इफ यू आर ड्रिंकिंग देन यू शुड ड्रिंक द राइट थिंग एंड इन द राइट वे एंड you get to know what you're doing. So that
I
is my
think
effort
so.
and
I
thanks a
think
lot, ma'am.
that's why we always say that drink less but drink better.
Drink better. Drink better
Drink
indeed,
less
ma'am.
but drink better.
And
And if you go
definitely
to
if
a
you
bar and if you see a bar where they have so many chota bottles on their bar, strike up a conversation with the bartender. He will tell you all the stories behind all the little bottles he has. कि मैंने ऐसा किया, मैंने इसमें ऐसा किया, अभी इसका flavor आप try करो. You smell it and you'll see why I'm using this in my drink. So it's very interesting sometimes with today's bartenders. They do a lot of experimenting. बहुत ही they've become very passionate about their careers. They've become very passionate about their craft, and they spend a lot of time doing research. और बहुत ही कभी कभी तो इतने साइंटिफिक हो जाते हैं मैं उनको पूछती हूँ कि भाई आप बारटेंडर हो कि साइंटिस्ट हो. They really some of them go so deep into it कि पूछो मत. Then I tell them कि आप इतने सीरियस हो जाओगे तो बाहर में कोई आएगा नहीं because you need to be happy to come to a bar. इतने भी सीरियस मत
wow,
बन जाओ. You need to
nice.
have fun when you're working.
Yep. Yep, definitely. And कल ही मैं एक रेस्टोरेंट गया था वहाँ पे somehow I don't know this is a serendipity कि हमारे just बगल में ही किचन था so we could hear people singing and वो गाने चल रहे थे and they were enjoying this stuff and my companion over there said to me कि ये खाना बहुत टेस्टी होगा पहले ही बोल दिया था क्योंकि because these people are singing good तो उनकी वाइब
Happy.
अच्छी होगी yeah they are happy so the food would be really good and that is how it turned out to be. So that is there. And thanks a lot, मैम आपने इतना टाइम दिया इतनी सारी चीजें बताई and it has been a pleasure.